Hey guys, it's the Art of Justice here, and today we are dealing with the last eye video for my Back to Basics series. And today the final medium is going to be digital. So I personally have a Surface Pro. It's my baby. I love it, and it helps me with digital painting. Whenever I do digital painting, I use my Surface, and it's the pen that comes with it because of the pressure sensitivity, and it just helps a lot. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is how I usually do my eyes. My digital style is slightly different from my traditional style. It's more animated than most of my work, so that's why I wanted to show that. One thing I will say is that throughout this entire thing, I'm using 2 layers. Now, normally I might do at least three usually, but just for this video I have 2, though I kept messing up, and so that 2 became a lot, but essentially 2 layers, one for line work and one for the color and blending. Now, for reference number 1, once again with those eyelashes, I don't know what was going on. The more I did them, the worse they got. But other than that, we're gonna go ahead and fill that in with the base color. Now, in the acrylics, I worked from the rim in. With digital, I'm gonna start with that base, that main color, and then do the rim and all the other details. So I focus on 2 brushes throughout most of my process. One of the more solid brushes and the other a fuzzy brush. I think it's the 3rd and 4th brush options just automatically default in Photoshop. So when I want to blend, after I put down the main color, I always get that fuzzy brush. I increase the size and I decrease the opacity. It's no specifics, just basically eyeballing it. I get the brush size to like 100 or less, around there, and then the opacity around 50, and then I just blend, and then I go between both colors trying to get that however I want it. One technique that I love about digital art is that you can mess with the opacity. It kind of makes things a little easier compared to traditional. So like you see with reference number 1, with that white highlight, I made it more translucent to let the colors shine through, and that helps even more with that, getting that reflection across. So now we're gonna start reference number 2, and I didn't aim for realism as much as I did with the acrylic one, just because when I do digital painting, I try to be as loose as possible. So that's why when you see me sketching down these eyes, I'm just getting the overall shape and then moving on. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Here's when I start messing up, and then the 2 layers become multiple layers. But once again, same thing. Layer 3 is just for line art, and layer 1 is for color. So there I am, changing my brush to that small one. I'm changing the size and the opacity so that I can get that softer color and start blending. So now you're gonna see me switch between the 2. And in this one, unlike the first one, I'm gonna add in the middle color. Well, not a middle color, but a lighter color than that base. And that's going to help me get the feathering effect that I used in the acrylic, but I'm not aiming too much for that feathering effect in here. And then I went on top of the line art to really strengthen those highlights, since the highlights is such a key point of this photo. I'm going to go on top of the line art, add that. This is just something I like to do. I add first I add with that soft brush a little bit of white in the lower opacity, and then I get that hard brush and then I go on top. And this just kind of gives it like this halo-y, glowy type feel, and it makes it kind of like shiny and bright, and I just like it. It helps me feel, I don't know, it's like my extra oomph there in the eyes. Here we are getting in those whites, once again aiming for them not to be pure white. So now you see, in contrast with the background, it doesn't look pure white, even though some of that pure white is still there. Now, if you're kind of confused as to why I'm doing these certain colors the way that I am, that means you didn't watch the last video. You should have watched the last video, because I went down in the nitty-gritty about what colors are where, the commonalities between all the eyes, and just some really good tips to help you get the overall basis of an eye and kind of help you when you're doing eyes. And if you want to see the photos that I'm using, well, you gotta watch videos 1 and 2 with the drawing and watercolor, because that's when you, especially the drawing one, because that's when I first introduced you to the photos, and that's when showing you the photos was my main priority. Well, one of my main priorities. So if you haven't seen those, go check those out. Other than that, keep watching. If you have watched those, good for you. We're gonna keep doing these references. So here I did a little different than the last one as far as the reflection. I'm still using that soft brush, but I'm making a shape instead of just doing the little orbs. Now normally in my style, I usually just, I think I mentioned this in my acrylic video where I just use the circles. I don't usually do shapes, but because I have a reference photo, because I have something from real life that I'm going on, that's why all of these have different shapes. And whenever I'm using the soft brush, one of the reasons why I make it so big is because it helps as far as blending goes. It makes it much broader as far as the stroke, and it makes it look nicer. Like if it was smaller, the effect wouldn't be as big. And I don't mind having a big brush because, like you saw, I just can clean up the edges if it really bothers me. But sometimes I'll even leave that there because it kind of helps. Because sometimes when it looks pure white, it looks kind of fake, and then it looks kind of like cookie cutter coloring bookish, and you don't want that. You don't want to look like you just colored a book. You don't want to look like you're 5 and you're just coloring in the lines. No, we want to go outside the lines. We want to break all the rules that our parents taught us when we were little and go crazy with gradients, opacities, and go outside those lines. So here, same thing, though this one, again, if you watch those other videos, you would know that this picture in particular caused me a lot of stress and worry. But if you haven't watched those videos, then you're just not going to understand the struggle. And so you need to go watch those videos once again. And that's going to be my final plug, other than that end slideshow there. So here I am getting into that inner corner, detailing that up. Getting those whites that aren't actually white. Now finally we're going to have the very last reference photo. This one I honestly kind of freestyled, And I know I said the last time will be the last time, but if you want to know why I freestyled it, you gotta watch the videos. But other than that, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to comment in the description. Tell me some of your techniques for drawing eyes and or just some digital techniques. If you like this video and want to see more, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.